From the Clark Ford Studio in Oxford, Mississippi, MBW Digital proudly presents the Oxford Exxon Podcast.
I'd say thanks for tuning in, but why am I going to give you a round of applause for something you're supposed to do, to be frank?
And now, here are your hosts, Chase Parham.
That broadcast school has really paid off.
And Neal McCready.
I deserve to be on TV.
Welcome to this Thursday edition of the Oxford Exxon Podcast. Chase Parham, Neal McCready. We are mobile this morning as been some internet outages in the Oxford area, so we're making do the best that we can, or I guess at least the McCready household. Is it area-wide, or were you just the lucky one?
I'm not sure. I started out this morning because I got up at 5, I'm going to go do Peloton and all that stuff, and internet's out, and we'd had a power surge in the middle of the night.
Yeah, we actually had that too, but it didn't kill anything.
I guess there was a lightning strike, so I'm not sure whether it's us. And then there was somebody in, we have that next door neighborhood app thing that you get. Somebody said that it's Oxmoor and North Point all over. If you have AT&T Uverse for like your internet and stuff, that it's down and that it could take 24 hours for it to reboot. So I don't know. I've got a new router ordered. Hopefully I won't need it. I was worried though, because when I turned the television on, I had watched the Cubs Nationals last night in my office, and not Cubs Nationals, Cubs Brewers. And when it ended, I turned it off and everything. And so I went to turn it on this morning just to turn it on. And when it wouldn't come on, I was like, oh God, it blew the TV, it blew the whatever. But it turns out it just blew a power strip. So I replaced the power strip and plugged everything back in. And everything works except the broadband lights don't work. So that's telling me that the router's not fried, that maybe it's a bigger issue. But if I had some friends, I could ask, but I don't. So there you go.
Yeah, and you're not an IT specialist, so who knows?
Yeah, and I talked to the guy. You get finally you get a guy at AT&T, and they just can't help you. They just can't help you. It's the most frustrating thing, and then they just talk, and they were kind of like, can you confirm your address? And it's like, no, not for the fourth time, I can't. Nope. If the first 3 times aren't good enough, I'm not giving it to you another time. And you just realize, man, they're just reading off a damn script. I mean, they don't. I don't know. It was to answer your my long-winded answer to your very simple question is I don't have any freaking clue.
Couple announcements we got for you on today's show. You're going to get Chase Goodbread of NFL.com. We're going to talk about A.J. Brown, Greg Little, and DK Metcalf, their draft prospects, what they can do to improve their draft prospects, and why they are in the situations they are in currently, which are all pretty good from an NFL standpoint. Jeffrey with his normal Thursday appearance. We talk a lot of football, NFL, and college both. We've got a couple other podcasts up this morning as well. Mike Detillier is the guest in the Oxford Crystal Beer Garden, going through college and NFL things, making his Super Bowl picks, talking Saints, talking Khalil Mack.
Let me speak to that one real quick. I know a lot of people don't want to listen to the Beer Garden because they're often, I get this email all the time. It's not Ole Miss. They don't want to listen to it. Okay, there is Ole Miss in it. We talk about Jordan Ta'amu. We talk about Shea Patterson. He has a really interesting Shea Patterson take, since Shea continues to be such a hot-button topic in Ole Miss circles. We talk LSU, the impact of the Shazon injury. We talk about this weekend South Carolina-Georgia game, Florida-Kentucky game. We look ahead to Ole Miss-Alabama. We look ahead to Auburn-LSU. So even if you are one of those handful of people who are vehemently against downloading anything that is not completely Ole Miss, there is enough Ole Miss in there for you to at least listen to the first 24 minutes. It doesn't matter to me if you don't. I prefer you did, but if you don't, it's okay. And then we take a break, and then we go into the NFL. And like Chase said, we talk about the impact of Khalil Mack on the Bears, on the Raiders. We talk about Chad Kelly. For those of you that want an Ole Miss connection, we talk about Chad Kelly's future, the preseason that he has had, and how Mike believes it will impact his future in the NFL. And then we talk some Saints. We talk some Chargers. We talk Super Bowl picks. We talk Falcons, Eagles, the game tonight a little bit. Talk about first week games that are intriguing to him, that kind of thing. If you like football, you will love this podcast. It is mostly me asking a 10-second question and Mike Detillier giving 6-minute answers. And there's nobody, Chase can vouch for this. There is nobody who knows football more than Mike Detillier. There might be a few people who know it as much, but there is no one who knows it more.
So the soft verbal also up for the week. The recruiting fix. Former Ole Miss wide receiver Shay Hodge, now the offensive coordinator at Provine High School, is the guest with Neal and Russell as well. So that's up. That's up in all the different places that you love your podcast. So take advantage of that. Also, I did find out yesterday that we're also available on TuneIn for the Oxford Exxon podcast. I had no clue, but add that to the 15 other places that you can listen to this here show. So tune in now as well, a carrier of the Oxford Exxon podcast. And the Oxford Exxon, they're offering Free Gas Friday. It is back tomorrow, so be ready to follow the Oxford Exxon, retweet them, like them, be clever, be witty on Twitter. Could be one of 3 people that win free gas fill-ups over the weekend. Ole Miss home, obviously, for football with Southern Illinois. That is at 3 p.m. on Saturday against the Salukis at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium. And tonight we'll be at Funky's on the Oxford Square. Mike Espy, another former Ole Miss wide receiver, is going to join us. Little start time change, 5:15, not 5:30 for that start time at Funky's tonight. They are doing plenty of drink specials again. We're going to have $4 margaritas. We got $2 domestics. We got $12 one-topping pizzas. And then I have no interest in it because it looked kind of weird. But apparently a lot of people like macaroni and cheese pizza, Neal. And I see that is on the menu tonight also. So I'm good. I'm out. But if that's your thing, have at it. I'm appreciative of it. So anyway, Mike Espy, 5:15 tonight at Funky's on the Oxford Square. Yeah, mac and cheese pizza. I'm going to have to see it to believe it.
You know, it's weird because I really like mac and cheese, and I really like pizza. But the thought of mac and cheese pizza is not immediately appetizing to me.
I saw a photo and was not swayed in a positive way. So we'll see it in person here in a few hours, and we'll see where it goes from there. But either way, up on the site at Rebel Grove, Neal's mailbag from yesterday still getting a lot of hits. My 3 and out thing is up this morning as well. I look at top Ole Miss wide receivers since 2000. Speaking of Shay Hodge and others, it really was kind of coming from that A.J. Brown discussion we had yesterday on this here podcast. We look at Phil Longo's offense in his first 13 games. Is the quick strike good? Is it bad? Is it a little of both? And then also a more detailed look from me at Shea Patterson, which is getting the most reaction.
And you stirred people up, right? You got people upset this morning. I haven't had a chance to look, but what is the overwhelming negative reaction to this?
It's not overwhelming per se, but there's certainly a segment that is upset that I said I felt sorry for Shea, that I blamed a lot of it on other people, and that he has a complicated legacy as it moves forward because he did some good too. He spurred a recruiting class that led to Greg Little and others, and you can criticize how he left. We can break it down for hours. We have broke it down for hours. I don't have any interest in doing it again. But he didn't sign up for a 2-year bowl ban, and he was not quiet leading up to that, telling people that should that happen, he was going to pursue other options. So, that does not completely exonerate him in the slightest, but it wasn't like he changed course. He had that plan for a while.
Yeah, and he didn't make the decisions. I don't know why that's so hard.
I called him a pawn, and I believe that.
He's absolutely a pawn. And for the people that go, well, sometimes just to stand up. Yeah, okay, because at 19, you stood up to your dad. Yep, you did. At 19, when your dad came to college and said, pack up, son, we're leaving. This wasn't the deal that we cut. We're out of here. You stayed. Sure. I believe that. Now, here's the other part of Shea Patterson. This is the part that's weird, and I'm going to piss off a lot of Ole Miss people here. The part that's weird with Ole Miss people, the obsession with it, is if you believe, and so many people out there do, and I'm kind of starting to, that Jordan Ta'amu is better than Shea Patterson, why are you upset that Shea left? Because if they were both here, I don't think Matt Corral comes.
Well, and if they're both here, it would be a circus right now. I wrote that. Can you imagine, with all the family dynamics around Shea Patterson, an actual quarterback competition?
Where he lost and he wasn't the guy? How divisive that would be inside that locker room? He signed up to play for Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze got fired. He didn't sign up to play for Matt Luke. Nothing against Matt, but he didn't sign up to play for Matt. And he didn't sign up to be the backup quarterback after Chad Kelly left. He didn't. That wasn't the deal that was cut.
A lot like Jacob Eason no longer being a Georgia Bulldog.
And the whole, yeah, exactly. And, Jacob Eason had to sit out a year. Shea did. Well, take that up at the NCAA. You can't blame Shea Patterson for that. You want to get upset at Sean Patterson for trying to steer other kids to Michigan? Okay. Nobody went. What difference does it make? It didn't happen. You can't, in one hand, believe you're better off with Jordan Ta'amu and Matt Corral, and on the other hand, still be pissed off that Shea's not with you. And he got the transfer waiver. We told you guys a long way back. No one wanted to believe us because they didn't believe that we actually had sourcing, but we did. We told people a long way back there was never going to be a transfer limitation on those kids that wanted to leave. If you wanted to leave and transfer, they were going to clear you and let you transfer.
And they did.
And they did. You want to get mad at the NCAA? Cool. Great. You can't realistically, with a clear mind, say, that's Shea Patterson's fault. He should have sat out a year. No, he shouldn't. He didn't want to sit out a year. And he told people all along privately. There was no surprise inside the program when Shea left. People knew when they got a 2-year bowl ban, Shea Patterson was leaving. In fairness to Shea Patterson, he told people that. He basically said it on the record. I just don't get it. I get enjoying watching him fail, and you should listen to Mike Detillier talk about the fit between Shea Patterson and Michigan. I sort of understand that a little bit, but it's kind of like, and I always make these like dating deals. A girl broke up with you, and you end up with the girl that you like better and is a better fit for you. It's kind of petty when you get really pissed off at the ex-girlfriend who is now with the guy who they're kind of stuck together and they really aren't a great fit and it's not going well. To take great pleasure in that while also enjoying the relationship that you have makes you kind of petty.
I don't want you, but I don't really want anybody else to have you either.
Yeah, and I don't really know why. I don't want you to be happy or whatever. I just don't.
Well, because you moved away, too. It's not like you stayed down the street. You're not going to bump into them in the restaurant.
Yeah, you're not.
We're not going to have the awkward moment inside the Italian place.
Right. It's over. And he left. There's never going to be that awkward stuff. Yeah, he left. And it's not a great fit. And Ole Miss fans are beginning to look petty. There, I said it. They're beginning to look obsessed. I'm beginning to wonder, are you going to boil the bunny?
Well, see, I think we're too early. I think this weekend and next weekend tell that story because you get the 1 week grace period to be petty and to make fun of it, and then it's do we move on now is the question. So what does this weekend look like?
And I take a playful shot at him in picks, but it's more at his dad. And picks is a spot where his dad decided to make that a fight, and so I'm continuing to take little shots at it. But I don't have a problem with Shea. Like you said one day, Shea woke up and did a podcast for us back before he got to Ole Miss that he didn't have to get up and do. Shea was fine, man. From a media standpoint, Shea Patterson was fine, except after the Vanderbilt game last year, where his dad had him all worked up about the picks. And a week later, before it had a chance to diffuse and for Everett cooler heads to prevail, he got hurt against LSU. Jordan Ta'amu came in, played extremely well, and it was obvious that if Shea stayed at Ole Miss, he was going to have to fight for his job. And there was a chance, I think a decent chance, that he wasn't going to win that job. And they weren't going to risk that. And this is the part where I don't blame them. I don't blame them. They didn't sign up for that. They didn't sign up for a 2-year bowl ban, a new offense that was not the offense that they signed up to play in. That's not what they signed up for. And you had a get out of jail free card in the NCAA. Shea Patterson wasn't the reason that Ole Miss got killed by the NCAA. I just don't. I'm not sure I completely get it, unless it's directed at his dad for trying to recruit other players away. unless it's
Which is
directed
very
at his
valid.
brother. And that's valid. And unless it's directed at his brother, because his brother, how creepy is it that you tie your professional future to your little brother? I mean, if you want to make fun of that, go for it. At some point, the deal with Shea just gets weird. And it would be one thing if Shea left you and your quarterback today was, not to pick on the kid, but Jason Pellerin, where Shea left you and you had no chance to compete. He left you, and most people think, Mike Detillier thinks, Jordan Ta'amu is better.
Yeah, I think I phrased it. If nothing more, you have certainly the more poised quarterback in your system right now. The better operator in your system. I don't know about pure talent, whatever, but
yeah, it's not for me to judge. We'll find out. The NFL will get to the bottom of that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, for right now, you're in a good spot. You've got a really good quarterback who's a really good kid, knows the system, likes the system. You have an offensive coordinator who likes this quarterback. There was some buzz all the way back to fall camp last year that Longo liked Ta'amu more than he liked Patterson for this offense. Jordan's played well. Jordan is, what is he, Chase? He's 4-1 as the starter?
Guess that is true, isn't it?
I mean, he's 4-1 as a starter. He
lost it.
He
well,
started,
Arkansas and A&M.
So he's 4-2 as a starter.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Lost at home to Arkansas and at Texas A&M, and then he beat
at home to A&M too, both at home.
Okay, you're right.
Then he beat Kentucky State, Lafayette,
Louisiana,
and Texas
Lafayette,
Tech.
And now Texas Tech. So he's 4-2 as a starter. He's played some good teams. He's done pretty well. He won an Egg Bowl. I just think at some point it gets petty, and I think we're fast approaching that point. It's just me, and now everybody get mad at me and tell me I don't understand and all of that, and maybe you're right, maybe I don't. I don't blame him for the decision that he made. I think he made the wrong decision in going to Michigan. And Mike Detillier sort of backs me up on that. You'll enjoy listening to it. But I don't think leaving Ole Miss was a terrible decision for Shea Patterson.
Yeah.
Especially if you believe that he wasn't going to be Ole Miss's quarterback. Staying at Ole Miss, turning down the opportunity to transfer without penalty, and staying at Ole Miss to sit behind Jordan Ta'amu would have been a mistake from a career standpoint.
Yeah. We'll jump into our first guest in a second. We're going to go talk to Chase Goodbread coming up after this ad break here on the Oxford Exxon podcast. Take a break in the podcast today. The podcast is also brought to you by Locker Stockers. They take the hassle out of stocking your locker or suite for this game day season. The customer places the order, and they handle purchase and delivery of the locker to the locker or suite prior to game day. That works for Vaught Hemingway Stadium, the Pavilion, or Swayze Field when the seasons get here. So lock in that preseason price. Still another day, one more day before the home opener against Southern Illinois. So you should call today, 662-586-1487 or info@lockerstockers.com. The podcast is also brought to you by Community Mortgage, Oxford, Memphis, DeSoto County, and Chattanooga. 30 years old this year, one of the oldest mortgage companies in the Southeast, leader in condo financing in Oxford and the float down option. So give them a call at 662-234-2704 or JLOWE, JLOWE at communitymtg.com. Also, if you are heading into town this weekend for the game and you need to stock up on your liquor, Oxford Wine and Spirits, a great place to do that. Located on College Hill Road, right next to Lost Pizza. Neil and I are in there very, very often. They got all the Cat Head products, and they're trying to help you, the podcast listener. So if you spend $150 or more in there, 5% off wine, 10% off liquor when you tell them about the podcast being how you heard about the store. So Oxford Wine and Spirits, again, on College Hill Road next to Lost Pizza. And then finally, the podcast brought to you in part by Tyson Drugs, TysonDrugs.com. They have a great app as well. They're located in downtown Holly Springs. 662-252-2321 is the phone number. They deliver wherever you are, and they're also now in Oxford as well with G&M Pharmacy on South Lamar, and they deliver in the Oxford area. So TysonDrugs.com. Now back to the show. Chase, thanks for giving us a few minutes this morning. You're in town for NFL.com. Do you have some favorite spots? What's kind of your off time look like when you're in Oxford?
Well, I was in Oxford for 20 hours roughly, less than a day, and managed to hit Ajax and the Blind Pig and the Bottle Tree Bakery in 20 hours. So I felt like I hit it about as good as I can in that short a time. It's a small window, but I opened fire.
That's a good point. I have to ask this, or I'll get yelled at. What'd you get at Ajax?
I had to get the turkey and dressing.
Okay.
With sweet potato casserole, and it was outstanding for sure.
Yeah, no carbs at all on the trip. Avoided the carbs, so that's good. That's
yeah,
good move there. So we'll get into it. Don't have you a whole lot of time this morning. Ole Miss with several potential first round, or a couple potential first round picks, several draft guys. Let's start with AJ Brown. Had a big game on Saturday against Texas Tech. Scored a touchdown, 94 yards, I believe. It seems like he's doing everything he can on the field to be in a pretty good position when April gets here.
Yeah, I think he's going to be in a really good position for the draft. I know a lot of scouts are excited about him. I think he's the top prospect in the program right now, which is impressive in its own right. But his production last year was pretty much off the charts. It's interesting. He's a little bit unique in that kind of breaks the mold of the traditional slot receiver. Slot receivers, of course, are typically little guys, kind of jitterbug types that can get open quick and on hot routes, beat blitzes and that kind of thing. And not that AJ can't do that, but he's huge. He's close to 230 pounds, and that's a different kind of cat for sure when you put him inside and you're working against nickelbacks or whatever.
I know it's not in a vacuum, but, as of right now, where kind of would you project him for April?
The scouts that I've talked to feel like he's got every chance in the world to be a first-round pick, but it's a long process, too. It's a lot can change. Things can change at the combine. Things can change, on medical flags, you name it, all sorts of stuff. So, you don't want to say, this. I hesitate to mock it, and say, this guy's a top 10 pick or something in September. But Brown is squarely on the list of players that have a really, really good shot to be right there.
What do you hear about him as far as a negative? Nobody has obviously a perfect sheet. So what's the thing that needs to get better?
I think the route running is probably something that scouts want to see a little bit more polish with. But the hands are outstanding. The size, as I mentioned, is outstanding. His speed's improved, and it's more than good enough for a receiver his size. So he pretty much brings the entire package, and I think scouts would probably prefer to see him get at least some action at one of the wide-out spots as opposed to the slot. This fall remains to be seen if that'll happen. But in terms of an athlete, he's got plenty of tape that's going to get scouts excited.
You mentioned AJ being potentially the top prospect on the team. Greg Little also on that roster, on that offense, the left tackle that stepped right in for Laramie Tunsil once Laramie left for the NFL. It seems like Greg's just sort of been steady. He hadn't had a lot of volatility in projections and what scouts think about him, but he's performed adequately throughout his career.
No doubt. He and DK Metcalf are probably the next two for Ole Miss in terms of draft prospects, and Little has got all the physical traits you look for in a tackle with the long arms and the athleticism and the ability to get a pass set and take on these speed rushers that come off that edge. And I think one of the things that can play in Little's favor is that this may not be a particularly good draft overall for offensive tackles. And so it puts a premium. Last year, I don't think was a great year necessarily either. Puts a premium on those guys. it puts frankly it boosts their value. If Little is recognized eventually as a guy that can, be the first pick by somebody, first round pick, what have you. If there's not a ton of guys available in the draft that are in that class, it's only going to make him more desirable. So I think it's probably shapes up to be a good draft if you're Greg Little.
Who are the couple guys that he's competing with, for lack of a better term, for some of those top spots at tackle?
Yeah, it's a good question. You got Jonah Williams at Alabama. Obviously, he's extremely highly thought of. He's played the left side. He's played the right side. He's actually capable of playing the interior. So that's one. You got Mitch Hyatt at Clemson, who I'm pretty high on. I tend to think a little more highly of Hyatt than some others. I think he's outstanding. He's been around a long time, ton of experience. Has been one of the best tackles in the ACC. So there's a few out there. It's not to say there's nobody for Little to compete with. There are guys out there, but there may not be as many top tackles in high numbers as some other drafts.
You mentioned DK Metcalf. Not many wide receivers bigger than him. He's built like an action figure. But as far as the NFL and what kind of to do with him, what are you hearing?
Well, he's a phenomenally athletic guy. There's no doubt about it. He's a freakish kind of athlete. Probably overall athleticism probably a little bit better than Brown's, which is saying something. And yeah, I think Brown is probably viewed as a little bit more polished in terms of the hands and so forth. But Metcalf is going to really make a name for himself at the combine, and of course he'll do that in the fall as well. But I think the combine will be a chance for him to really, really stand out, especially if he interviews well. People will expect him to do really well in the physical testing, but he could be one of the top physical testers among all the receivers there. And if he's able to combine that with a good round of interviews with general managers and coaching staffs, then he'll help himself a lot.
Not obviously from an NFL standpoint, but just as far as having those two receivers, what's kind of your thoughts on Jordan Ta'amu as far as just putting those guys in good positions to show their skill sets at the receiver position?
A couple of super weapons, huh? I mean, If you're Jordan Ta'amu, you almost couldn't have lucked into a better pair of guys to throw to, and obviously with the way Phillips played at running back against Texas Tech, we might be looking at a situation where Tommy's going to benefit from some more balance from the running game, which recent Ole Miss quarterbacks haven't always had. So I think Tamu's in a great spot. Ta'amu, excuse me. Still trying to nail that pronunciation down. It throws me.
Aren't we all?
But, yeah, no doubt. But he showed last year after Patterson went down that he's capable of leading the offense, and to have those two guys back and to have Little on the left side, which I'm sure for him is a great comfort to know that the edge rushers, at least on that side of the line, are going to be held at bay. I'm expecting a pretty big year from him.
Matt Luke has appeared to really kind of change the culture inside that program pretty quickly. He's talked about that since really taking over as the interim coach, but then especially since he got the permanent gig. What have been your impressions of Matt to this point?
I think it remains to be seen if it was a home run hire, but I definitely think Ole Miss could have done a lot worse than Matt Luke. I mean, the way he handled the interim season with all the turmoil, I thought was impressive. Held the team stitched together, and you look at the way if people nationally expect Ole Miss to just disappear through these sanctions, I think they're going to be surprised. I don't know if Ole Miss is. I don't know if Matt Luke's going to blow the lid off and be winning double-digit games every year. At least maybe not the short term, but I expect he's going to beat some teams he's not supposed to beat with the offensive firepower that he's got. And if he does that, Ole Miss is going to have a better year than most people expect.
Last thing, really appreciate the time. I know the big three are what you're definitely focused on, but are you even hearing any kind of scatter on anyone else, such as a DeMarcus Lodge or someone, as far as a professional future?
Yeah, Lodge. I guess Ken Webster might be one to keep an eye on as well. And Ole Miss will have a few guys kind of surface. They typically do at the end of the year who are going to draw some attention. I wouldn't expect Metcalf, Brown, and Little to be the only three to get combine invitations. Certainly, I would expect the list to be deeper than that. But those three definitely look like the top dogs right now for the scouts.
Well, be safe, Chase, and we really appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
All right, Chase. Thanks.
Thanks to Chase for giving me that bit of time this morning. And see with Oxford working on something for NFL.com. We're going to go to Jeffrey Wright in 1 minute. Continue on with the podcast after this.
We take a break from the show to tell you that this podcast is brought to you by Robert Gambrell and Gambrell and Associates. Robert knows that many of the people listening to this podcast will never need a bankruptcy attorney or a Social Security disability attorney. However, many of you may be interested in reviewing your financial situation to consider asset protection. This is a part of what a good bankruptcy attorney does. And also, many of you have friends and or relatives that get into difficult financial situations. Gambrell and Associates helps many people work through their times of hardship, whether that results in filing a bankruptcy petition or working to avoid a bankruptcy filing. Others are primarily worried about their credit scores. For those people, many times Gambrell and Associates refer their clients to Brian McLaurin, another advertiser on this podcast. Sometimes people find the easiest way to rebuild credit is similar to what the Cubs did. Tear it down, start over. This can be done by filing for relief under Chapter 7 to get a fresh start. Whatever your needs are, you, your relatives, or friends can get a free consultation for 1 hour or more to help make your decision on what is best for you. Check out Robert Gambrell on avvo.com, superlawyers.com, or give him a call, 662-281-8800. This podcast is also brought to you by Grenada Nissan. If you're in the market for a Nissan vehicle, look no further than Grenada Nissan, located just off Interstate 55 in Grenada, Mississippi. Grenada Nissan has a complete selection of new and previously owned Nissan vehicles, great lease deals as well. Gene and Sandy have been with the website, the podcast, a long time. They're great people, great service, great product. You will love doing business with the people at Grenada Nissan. It's GrenadaNissanUSA.com. The podcast also brought to you by Harry Alexander. Harry is an Oxford-based RE/MAX Legacy Realty agent. Harry's been in Oxford more than 4 decades. No one knows the residential and condo market in Oxford better than Harry. Go to his site. He'll prove it to you. It's harryalexander.com. Click on the Properties and Neighborhoods tab. Filter through by what you are looking for, and then send him an email. It's ha@harryalexander.com. And Rebel Nation, 2018 is the year of the fan. Ole Miss Athletics wants to showcase your stories and recognize you, the Ole Miss fan base. Exciting prizes and experiences throughout the year will be featured on omyearofthefan.com and updated often, so be sure to visit omyearofthefan.com. Now back to the podcast.
Jeffrey, good morning as always. Just kind of curious, we're going into week 2 of the college football season now, week 1 behind us. You've been waiting on it, like Christmas for you. Did it fulfill what you were hoping for? I know you've been out of town, you've been doing some other stuff, so were you able to fully enjoy everything being back in its rightful place?
I mean, I think even the most diehard college football fan would have to say last weekend was pretty much a letdown. Only because when you have week 1, there's a limited amount of big games because so many people are more or less treating week 1 like essentially an exhibition game. And I'm not saying that Ole Miss did, but I mean, a lot of people treat it that way. And so then when you get these marquee games where they're just not very close and they weren't all that exciting, like even the Notre Dame game, the Notre Dame-Michigan game, like, I don't know, like I found myself, like, that game was hard to watch. I think the best game was probably Auburn and Washington, and that wasn't a clean game at all. And truth be told, I felt like Auburn worked really hard to keep Washington as close as that game was. But to me, my favorite weekend of the year for just like excitement's sake is always this weekend, because I feel like this is kind of when it's like all systems go, because you've got all day Saturday and then you got all day Sunday. And, I can appreciate college football for what it is. I prefer to if I'm just watching football, I prefer to watch the NFL. But, to me, like, this is always my favorite weekend, the weekend where you've got everything back.
Are you jumping all over the Eagles in the opener just because it seems like that home team always wins the first game?
See, I'm torn on that, because I agree, but man, Nick Foles has looked like Nick Foles during the preseason. So I'm wondering, it's like, okay, is he going to revert back to? And I give a some, maybe not all the credit, but I give a large portion of the credit to Doug Peterson, because Doug Peterson, it felt like he could just really get Foles into the positions for success. I don't remember who it was that was saying it, but one thing I'll give Foles credit, he throws a really good deep ball, like an amazingly good deep ball. Now, the problem is he kind of has to wind up to throw it, and so I think that kind of hurts him on all the other throws, and I think that's kind of why he's, more or less a backup. But if you, look at that playoff run, that's where all their success was. Like, he made some huge deep throws, and that kind of freed him up. So if he hits a couple of those, I'm not quite as worried as from what I saw in preseason. But overall, I think I'll go with Philly. But that's always going to be to me, that one's always more of a gut bet.
Week one, not a whole lot to it. I will give the spoiler alert. The Oxford Crystal Beer Garden, Mike Detillier was on with Neil yesterday. He thinks Saints or Falcons represent the NFC in the Super Bowl.
I mean, I don't have a problem with that. That's kind of, to me, that's kind of the problem with the NFC. Okay, you and I talked about this last year. Think about realistically from the AFC. I thought the Pats could be a Super Bowl team. I thought the Jags could be a Super Bowl team. Going into the playoffs, I thought the Steelers could be. But really, it just turned out it was mainly just the Jags and the Pats. But then you looked in the NFC, you could have made a legitimate case for the Saints, for the Falcons, for the Rams, for the Vikings, for
the Eagles, obviously.
Yeah. The Eagles, obviously. I mean, that was five of the six playoffs.
Well, and you were scared to death if Aaron Rodgers came back healthy, what the Packers could be.
Exactly. So, I don't know. To me, maybe it's sexy, but I really think the Packers are set up well because of the way that when Rodgers went down, the way they finished, they get to play the third place schedule. I kind of like playing in the same division as Kirk Cousins, as Mitch Trubisky, and as Stafford.
Yeah.
I mean, really, the truth is, I think are we at the point right now where is the NFC East the worst division in football?
It's really close because there's nothing over there that necessarily scares you. I mean, I get the Eagles are Super Bowl champions and all, but no, there's.
I take it back. The AFC East.
Oh.
The quarterbacks. Here are the quarterbacks in the AFC East. Ryan Tannehill.
Yep.
Sam Darnold and Nathan Peterman.
It's a wonder Tom Brady's won 15 division titles in a row. Really, I'm surprised when you read a list like that.
It's subtly one of those things that's always driven me insane about the whole Brady Belichick versus Peyton argument. Peyton, it's not like Andy Roddick, but maybe it's like Djokovic, where he's like, does anyone have more Grand Slams that everyone kind of just overlooks than Djokovic?
No, he's absolutely it because he gets put. I mean, not to get off into a tennis thing, but he gets put off into a group more with Murray, and it's like he dominates Andy Murray in every statistical category.
Exactly. I think the casual person that knows names in tennis would say Andy Murray and Djokovic are they're about the same. It's like Nadal, Federer's the best, Nadal's right there behind him, and then behind them you've got Djokovic and Murray. It's like no, 11 is better than 3. By a long shot. This guy's won every Grand Slam. All of them. 11 beats 3.
Wait, from a spread standpoint, it would almost be like, Tiger and Phil, pretty much the same difference. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's fine.
No. One is a generational talent that, while the other has had a very, very, very strong Hall of Fame type career, but the other is a generational type talent. But the thing used to drive me insane about the whole Brady Belichick Peyton argument is every time, essentially the Patriots would always beat him because he had to go to Foxborough. He never lost the AFC Championship game to them when he was the home team. And I believe only twice have the Patriots gone to the Super Bowl after playing the AFC Championship game on the road. And it was twice in Pittsburgh, and one of those years was the year that I think, was it either Maddox got hurt or Roethlisberger got hurt. And then one of the years, in fairness, was one of the years Brady got hurt, and then Bledsoe came in and beat him. So, it used to drive me insane. It's like, no, they always dominate them because they play in the NFC or the AFC East, which has been a garbage division for a very long time, and they get to advance because. And I'm not saying that the AFC South was like an absolute juggernaut either, but it's like they always got them at home, and so that used to always drive me insane. Like, I feel like I always know Simmons does the whole, well, what if Archie Manning never met Olivia Manning, and then Peyton and Eli, then Belichick would have all the Super Bowls? It's like, well, what if Coach Belichick never met Mrs. Belichick and Bill never entered the world? How many Super Bowls would Peyton have had? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can do that both ways.
Yeah. We mentioned the Saints a second ago. And by the way, to tell you, he has the Chargers from the AFC. He's a little more of a hot take on that side. But
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I completely can see the Chargers being that team, but I refuse to believe a team that has a 25,000 seat stadium is going to the Super Bowl. And by the way, doesn't sell it out.
That is an underlooked part of this, isn't it?
They don't have home games.
Yeah.
They have 8 road games and then 8 half games. Like, I don't even say they're neutral, because at least, like, if neutral, everyone's just kind of bored. Like, they have more people at their games usually for the other team than for themselves.
Am I going to get invested in this season at some point? Because I'm still stuck on it's just not going to matter until the playoffs. Do you anticipate this changing as the weeks tick by for me?
Yeah, because the South, like, you understand. I think one thing last year taught you before the playoffs is, ooh, boy, you better have home field.
Okay.
I mean, you know what I mean?
A good team could be left home real easy.
Yeah. So I think you're going to get invested. And then on top of that, you can make a case for, I guess maybe because Jameis isn't there for the first 4 games, but you can make a case for basically every team in the South.
But we always say that about Tampa Bay, and they still have not taken that step. We always do this in the preseason and go, hey, the Buccaneers are right there. They're about to challenge. It's here.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but to me, like, when it comes,
they're a better last place team than everybody else's last place team.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, do you really think that their roster's not talented? Because
no,
I would disagree with that.
Yeah, they're just not going to go 12-4. But
well, for sure. But, like, my point is, like, you could have made a case where, based on their roster and based on the fact that they play the last place schedule, you could make a case that Tampa could end up winning the division.
Yeah,
if Jameis would have been there.
I'm really struggling with this Teddy Bridgewater thing. I do not want him as my quarterback moving forward, and I feel like we are locked into a situation now where he is going to be the post Breeze replacement.
I don't think you have to worry about that, but also, I have no problem with Bridgewater. Okay. I don't think he throws a good deep ball, but he throws everything else. And to me, I'd rather have the guy that throws everything else than a good deep ball. Like, I would rather have that than have
something about it is just not visually pleasing to me, and I don't know what it is.
It's the 2 gloves. It's it. It's the 2 gloves. You can't trust a quarterback that wears 2 gloves. I completely understand it. I don't fault you.
Is he doing that in the dome too?
Oh yeah, I think he does it because if you made me guess, he's got small hands.
Even better. Not to be an NFL scout, but
that is a complete conjecture. But most guys I know wear two gloves. It's not a fashion statement. They're doing it because they have small hands.
Yeah, that's what I want my quarterback to be in the playoffs.
Well, I mean, at least he's gloving it up.
He's not in denial.
He accepts responsibility.
That's fair. Do you have a take on Shea Patterson from week 1?
Looked like the same Shea Patterson that I told everyone about when I proposed the hypothetical. I would rather have Dak for a year than give up the rights to Shea Patterson.
I love claiming the victory 2 years later.
Hang on. Let's take a few more victory laps. Let's get through all the things I was right about that people hated me for.
Okay.
No, just that was another one.
I'm letting you. Go ahead. It's fine.
No, that's my thing with Shea. Now, I still also the people that don't that act like he's not talented. That's weird. I mean, he's clearly talented. He's what I would say is he's what so many of these modern quarterbacks are now that are coming out of high school. He can play football in shirts and t-shirts. But when it comes to instincts of the position, when it comes to pocket presence, when it comes to all of the things that actually add up to playing quarterback, that's where he struggles. I mean, it's the same thing, man. How many times do you see him first read, wasn't there, bail right? The truth is, he kind of has the Hurts in him like that, where first read's not there, bail right, but at least Hurts just throws it out of bounds. Hurts understands, okay, just don't turn it over. Shea then tries to force it. I will also say, in fairness to him, I did not realize Michigan's offensive line was that bad. Did you?
I mean, I had no idea either way, but no, you wouldn't think so. They were all highly recruited. Now, Notre Dame's good defensively. They're not going to make Michigan look like that every single week, obviously. But
I mean, I'll say this. I thought I was more impressed with Notre Dame than for instance, in the Miami LSU game, I was less impressed with LSU and more. I thought that said more about Miami stinking.
Agreed.
And then when I watched Michigan Notre Dame, I found myself more impressed by what Notre Dame was doing than I was, Michigan stinks.
You know, I wrote this morning, kind of last thing on Shea, is I get all the Ole Miss fans taking pleasure in whatever. It was the best thing for everybody, because if he hangs around and there's a quarterback competition with his dad the way he is, it would have been a freaking circus. I don't care if he'd been the starter or not. It would have been a circus.
Do you think Shea had some PTSD when he went out with an injury and then he saw another number 10 come in and move the ball a little bit?
Oh, crap. Here we go. Is it possible he loses the job, or does it just not? I mean, does he have it locked in no matter what because of the extenuating circumstances?
I think Shea would have to. I think it'd have to be the exact same situation as last year. I think Shea has to be completely knocked out for him to not play.
So what's their ceiling?
I mean, they have the advantage of they're in the easier division. The problem is their crossover game is the Ohio State game.
They can lose to Northwestern.
It could, but I mean, you get Northwestern, you get Purdue, you get Nebraska in a transition year. I'll say they lose to Wisconsin. I'll say they lose to Ohio State. Who's their other crossover?
I don't know. I'm pulling up their schedule. Western Michigan, SMU, Nebraska. So they're about to run off 3 in a row easily.
Yep.
At Northwestern, Maryland at home, Wisconsin at home, at Michigan State, Penn State at home, at Rutgers, Indiana, Ohio State.
So
it's at worst 8-4, probably.
Yeah. And really, they're probably going to win one of those games, so they'll be a 9-3, and if they go to a bowl game, they'll be 10-3, and then it's back to kind of where they were Harbaugh's first 2 years.
We'll obviously put out picks later in content form at rebelgrove.com, but just kind of curious, what kind of chance you give Carolina this weekend at home against Georgia?
I mean, it feels like, help me if I'm wrong, I feel like that line was trying to sucker everyone to take Carolina.
That's what it feels like.
2 touchdowns or whatever, 2 scores, home team, home dog. Like, at the end of the day, it's like there was such a gap for me between Georgia and everyone else in the East. And I understand South Carolina played them pretty tough last year. I mean, I guess you got to say they got a puncher's chance because I think Jake Bentley actually is a good quarterback. And then they can throw it enough that's kind of the way that you've always heard it. Like, that's the way you always hurt Saban and smart, Kirby's defenses is if you've got a guy that can stretch the ball vertically. Like, I used to always just laugh, like, you need a dual threat quarterback. Like, no. You need a guy that can throw the ball down the field. Like, when Steven Garcia beat him, it wasn't because Steven Garcia was running around. It was because he hit, like, his first 19 passes and 15 were, like, deep shots. Like, that's
Bo Wallace was not the most mobile guy in the world.
No, but Bo hit enough deep. He hit a couple of those big post throws. Like, that's what it comes down to. You're going to get a chance with one-on-one because that's, like, what they're going to do. So you got to be able to hit them. And so I give Bentley a puncher's chance, but, man, I don't know. Maybe it was recency bias or not, but from what I saw in Georgia on Saturday, I don't think they're taking a step back this year.
No, I don't either. I mean, you hit it. They've got a young back seven defensively. If you told me they busted a couple assignments, Carolina hit a couple big plays, and it's a game for 4 quarters, sure. But I don't see any way Georgia actually loses that football game from a win-loss standpoint. So I don't know. We'll see. I did this. I want to get your take on it because you got a pretty good grasp this morning. In one of my points, I ranked Ole Miss receivers since 2000. What's your top 3 or 4? Who do you have? What order? I did it through 10, but I'm not going to make you do that.
Are we saying based on production or based on, like, guys that I'd want to have?
It's kind of a mix. I didn't really put a hard cap on it, but I definitely trended more toward college production versus, NFL careers or anything like that.
Are we counting Dexter as a running back or receiver?
He is a running back. I did not include Dexter McCluster, and I also, just because, frankly, I needed 10, and it got to a kind of a hodgepodge there at the end. Because he held pretty much every record when he finished his career, I included Grant Hurd there at the end of the list. His last season was in 2000.
AJ is number 1.
Okay.
I mean, I can't decide if it's a hot take or not. Like, I just never thought Laquan was that good. Like, and you can vouch for me. I never thought he was that good.
No, it was from day one.
Like, I thought he had a big body, and I thought he used it well, and I thought he was like a good red zone guy. But, like, for me, most of the things that you would say about Laquan, it's like, look how great he blocks downfield. It's like, that's not why he's here. Like, and don't get me wrong, I know that's a part of the game, but it's like, I want, if that's like my number 1 guy, I want him to be the guy. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, when you start doing this, like, who's better? Because, like, Chris Collins is who?
Is it Dante?
Yeah. Moncrief. Give me Moncrief. Because Moncrief was that's the thing. Like, Moncrief would take games over. All right, so I go AJ, Dante. Like, that's the thing. I think it has to be Laquan then because it's like, it's not Chris Collins. It's not Bill Flowers. It's not.
The two that I couldn't decide
Shea
what
Hodge,
to do with,
not,
just from a stat
Wallace
standpoint, was Hodge and Collins. I could not figure out where to put them. They had to be included, but couldn't figure out where to put them.
I would include Hodge before I'd include Collins.
I have Hodge very high. I actually have Hodge at 3 just because of his stats.
I'd have Shea up there pretty high, but Chris Collins was the original Steve Smith, as in the guy that Eli made look into being way better than he was. Like, remember when people thought Steve Smith was an outstanding, like, NFL receiver, and then he tried to go get paid somewhere, and, like, he was, like, begging to come back to the Giants just to get some stats again?
That's fair. I mean,
yeah, I think I would go AJ, because you can't guard AJ. Like, some people could guard Dante. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I have AJ 1.
You can't cover AJ. So I go AJ, Dante, Shea, Laquan.
What do you do with Evan Ingram, if I allow you to include him?
Evan's probably 5 then.
Okay. What do you do with Mike Wallace?
Mike Wallace is like a specialist.
Well,
You know what I
Wallace
mean?
had one good year in 08. He got almost 800 yards receiving with Evan Snead. But I think you've got to give him a little bit of a handicap because he played 2 of his 3 years under Ed Orgeron. Not
Ed
his fault.
Orgeron with Seth Adams,
Correct, yes.
the guy that transferred from Delta State.
Yeah, and then at 9 and 10 to finish the list, I had Vince Sanders and DeMaurier Stringfellow just to close it.
Yeah, I got no problem with that. Like,
Although, by the way, did you know Mario Hill had 950 yards in only 18 games?
didn't Mario lead that 03 team?
I thought it was the next year when they had like no one that he was doing whatever. Because Collins had a really big year in 03.
I did not realize I didn't realize Mario only played 18 games.
Yeah, 18 games for Mario Hill. Had 950 yards.
If we were doing an all Ole Miss receiver name list, though, does anyone beat Trey Freifogel?
Ooh, not off the top of my head. No, I think you probably have it there. Let's close the last couple minutes. This was pretty obvious, but are you glad no one did anything stupid with the Ryder Cup captain's picks?
I mean, I just didn't. To me, the biggest question out there was what were they going to do with Kuchar? Because if you really thought Phil wasn't going to be on that team, I point you to the fact that there's a Ryder Cup committee. There are 6 people on a Ryder Cup committee, and Phil and Tiger are 2 of the 6. If you don't think that Phil and Tiger, healthy, are not going to be on that team, then I can't do anything for you.
But you have to give the team credit for going ahead and announcing Kuchar and not making the thing weird. Because now it's an obvious thing. They're going to pick Tony Finau with that 14th spot or 12th spot.
Correct. And I was rooting for Finau all along. Like, I don't know. I think Kuchar's the guy that maybe we should all like. I think Kuchar's the perfect level of success in the world because he's super rich. But do you think is anyone gonna bother Matt Kuchar at Lenny's?
Couldn't you make that argument with almost any golfer not named the top 4 or 5 in the world?
Right, but doesn't Kuchar have more money than most of them?
Yes, he backdoors top 5s every single week. He cashes checks.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to keep it realistic, maybe the perfect level of fame is Charles Howell, because Charles Howell has been on tour for 20-something years. He's made $40 million,
and he wouldn't even be recognized in his hometown.
Yes, exactly. No one even if you say Matt Kuchar, there's enough people that would go, "Oh yeah, that's Matt Kuchar." I know who that is. If I say, "Hey, that's Charles Howell III," who? I guess that's kind of maybe the better answer. But now that the whole Kuchar thing's out of the way, I'm kind of cool with it. I still wish that. I just really hate that Webb qualified. And we had this discussion with our caddy over the weekend. I had to do is he good? Because I think you have to say yes. He's won a Players. He's won a U.S. Open. What has he won 6 times?
It's like Bridgewater. There's something visually unpleasing about his game.
And that was kind of our conclusion. It's the fact that his swing is so disgusting. He has some follow-throughs on his swing that you're just oh, gross.
Is this what people are going to feel about Braden if he becomes a top 40 player in the world?
The truth is, I think it's part of why Jordan Spieth doesn't catch on like wildfire with the golfing community. Jordan Spieth's more popular with the 60-year-old men at the country club than he is with 25-year-old guys that love golf.
Because he has no personality.
And I swear to God, it's because it's the swing.
Maybe so. Last 30 seconds. Do you see any of Ole Miss? Any quick thought there?
I did. So I didn't watch it live. I was able to record it and went back and watched it. Man, I was impressed. And I don't want to take anything away from what Ole Miss did, but man, to me, I just saw a dumpster fire in Texas Tech, didn't you?
Yeah, I did not think they were very good. I'm really interested in Texas Tech and Houston in a couple weeks to see what that game looks like. It's kind of my next barometer.
I thought Scotty Phillips looked like a legitimate back.
Yep.
I think that offensive line, that first 5 they've got, that's the best offensive line they've ever had since I've been, from a pure talent, everything. That's probably the best offensive line since that offensive line. It was like 98 or 99. It was either Cutcliffe's first or second year.
Buckles and Spencer and all those guys.
Yeah. It was like Cutcliffe's first or second year when you had Terrence. But there were like 3 or 4 pros on that. I think it's the most talented one since that. I don't know what you do with the receivers. I mean, I guess you try to take away 2 of them, but I mean that's the thing. It's like if you told me Lodge has a better pro career than DK, I don't argue with it, and I think DK's a stud. Like, you know what I mean?
Are you keeping your win-loss where it is after one game?
Yeah, because I think I gave him 6-6. And now I guess you could make the argument because they're going to win all 4 non-cons.
And they've already got a swing game out of the way.
Correct. I think they'll beat Vanderbilt, and I think they'll beat Arkansas. So you're at 6. You got a chance with South Carolina. I guess the state games at home. You've always got a chance in that. I don't know. I mean, I guess now maybe I'd say I'm closer to 7-5 than I am, but I still saw the same problems that I think they're going to have going forward, which is, man, they are going to get torched on defense.
Yeah, just one game definitely did fix that. Who you got on the show today, Jeff?
So today, coming up, we've got Stephen White of SB Nation, of course, the kickoff of NFL action, so he's going to join the program. Then we have Chris Harrington, and we're starting a trivia contest with Jeff and me, in which he asks Yankee questions, and then I ask redneck questions.
Ooh, that's good. I like that.
Yes, we would enjoy that. It's every Thursday at 10:25. So if this gets out before then, make sure you listen. Be sure to call in 535-3776, and you have an opportunity to win, of course, fabulous prizes.
All right, talk to you soon, bud.
All right.
Thanks to Jeffrey as well. Like I said, show a little disjointed today, but we got one to you. That appeared to be up in the air a little while ago. We made it work. A couple really good guests there with Jeffrey as always, and then Chase Goodbread jumping on to talk NFL draft with A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, and Greg Little, who Chase, as you heard, says that is benefiting a little bit from a poor tackle class and just being really consistent as an SEC starter the last couple of years or last few years, I guess, at this point for the Rebels. So tomorrow's podcast on the site on a Friday for MPW Digital will be our interview tonight with Mike Espy. We'll also be talking picks for the week. Those will be up in content form at rebelgrove.com on Friday morning as well. So if you can get out, join us at Funky's. We'll have the Blue Delta trivia question as always. We will have a good time. Again, eat, drink, be merry with that. And then Ole Miss and Southern Illinois, 3 o'clock Saturday at Vaught Hemingway Stadium. Plenty of coverage leading up and after at rebelgrove.com. So we'll talk to you soon.